Welcome to Job Tales, the show where we find out about different professions from the people who know. Each week I speak to a new guest with a very interesting job. I'm Laura Leoncini and today my guest is Amanda Schurtz. Born in Switzerland and splitting her time between Dublin and Geneva, Amanda has just received her black belt in Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, called Newaza. She's also a member of the Swiss Olympic team. Unlike other disciplines, she has to fund her own sports career, which means she has a full-time job plus a full-time training. Let's hear her story. Amanda Schurtz, thank you for being my guest. You're a professional Newaza athlete, which is a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Welcome. It's such a pleasure to have you. I would like to ask you to describe what is the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and how you became to be a Swiss Olympian.
Sure. Well, thanks so much for having me. This is such an honor. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is basically all of the floor work that you can see in judo. So Newaza would be like a branch of judo. And so it's very similar to judo once again, but there's more groundwork and we do a bit of wrestling as well. It's mostly called grappling. It's a type of fighting without any striking. So anything that you see like in the UFC, for example, for anyone that watches UFC, it's all of the groundwork, the submissions, the leg locks, the arm locks. It's all of that. So it's all the fun part without all of the consequences of striking.
Okay. And you have practiced it for a long time?
Yeah, for about 8 years. I was boxing before that and I thought it would transfer well, but it doesn't at all. Like boxing is completely useless in jiu-jitsu, except for the mindset. But yeah, that's mostly it.
That was it. Okay. Can you say that you're like professional jiu-jitsu athlete, or is there still like a bit of a ways to go for you?
Yeah, so it's a bit of a difficult one just because there's no funding. So the difference between someone who would be like semi-professional and professional would be the funding, basically. So I do as much training and I'm as serious as someone who is professional, but because there's no funding and I can't live off the sport, officially I wouldn't be called professional, I would be called semi-professional.
I see. So really professional, the difference is whether you earn your living by doing this or not, right?
Exactly. And basically if the sport is popular enough to have a lot of funding.
Right. So meaning also having enough audience to justify the funding and the advertising then that goes with it.
Exactly.
Like a tennis player or a football player and
yes.
or the Olympians. Yeah, it's not easy because also you were telling me it is not yet an Olympic discipline.
Exactly. So we are, so I'm part of the Swiss national team and we are under the umbrella of Swiss Olympic.
Yeah, okay.
But Swiss Olympic takes into account sports that are Olympic and non-Olympic. So unfortunately, I am under the Swiss Olympic team, but I'm not, like we're not a Swiss Olympic sport. So yeah, we wouldn't be in the Olympics. So it's a bit complicated, but yeah.
Before we talk about your present job and present situation, let me go back in time and ask you when you felt this passion and the calling for jiu-jitsu.
To be honest, I've always been into sports. I still have a big brother and I used to play fight with him all the time. And so he did judo, I did judo. Then I went into boxing and then I discovered jiu-jitsu, a fighting sport where I didn't need to get punched in the face. And in my first class, I felt like, oh my God, I was back being 10 years old, play fighting with my brother, and it was amazing and just loved it since day one.
So you decided to continue. Then you joined the club and you've been training ever since?
Ever since, yeah, basically. I had a friend at the time who was boxing at the same time as me and she moved on to jiu-jitsu and I was like, oh, that looks really fun. And I tried and just never looked back. As much as I love boxing, it's my first love, but jiu-jitsu is just amazing. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So you really, let's say if you could mention one or two main things that make you really resonate with jiu-jitsu, what would it be?
I think my answer is different today than it would be when I started. Today, it's really the community and the fun we have just all being kids and playing around on mats. Like that's all we need, just a bunch of mats and just play fighting. And it's just absolutely amazing. COVID was a big realization that we couldn't really train properly. We couldn't compete or anything. And I think that everyone just kind of realized that competing can go away forever, but if there's the one thing that we don't want to be taken away from us is just that sense of community and having fun every evening with your friends.
Yeah. Okay. I imagine there's hours and hours of training, and then you train every day. I imagine. How do you cope with this, and then having to, of course, make a living in order to pursue your passion?
I don't. It's very hard, to be honest. Like, and it's super frustrating when you see other sports being really well funded and people don't have the stress, like other athletes wouldn't have the stress of, having to make a living. It is hard, but I found an amazing company where they are super flexible and they really understand my position. I'm getting old and like I only have so many years left in competing at the highest level, and they really understand that. And so they're really like they let me go and train in the middle of the day. Like they're just absolutely amazing. So it's nice to have the support of a company like that. But obviously not everyone can be in that position, and it's just super hard. It's really hard. And after a day of work, going to training is hard enough. Like,
You must be, yeah, it must be hard. So is it like a full-time job that you found?
yeah, exactly. I'm working for Lululemon in the digital engagement team, and like I couldn't have asked for a better team and a better company to work for. Like, yeah, they're
Yeah.
just amazing.
Yeah. What do you do there exactly?
So digital engagement is everything regarding social media. So we're massive into engaging with the community, with the ambassadors, with the events that are happening. It's actually a really cool job. Like on top of doing jiu-jitsu, I actually really enjoy my job. So yeah, just unreal.
So that means that you had, what is your like academic background?
So I started at the head in Geneva, the Haute École d'Art et Design, and then I had the opportunity with Erasmus to move for 6 months in another country.
Hmm.
I always wanted to go to the Middle East, so I had the choice between either Beirut or Jerusalem, and Beirut was a cinema school, so I had to go to Jerusalem because I was in art. Stayed there for about 6 months, and then I decided to stay in Jerusalem and finished my bachelor's in fine art in Jerusalem. And then that's where I started jiu-jitsu, and then I moved to London and did a master's in fine arts as well at the Chelsea College of Art and Design.
Okay.
So yeah.
So like full, yeah, full time, also academic career. That's and then along you kept training for
Yeah.
jiu-jitsu. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. So I started my studies training for boxing and then transferred to jiu-jitsu, but always had sports on the side. I actually can't just do one thing. I need different kind of stimulations. So yeah.
And how old are you today?
I'm 33. I'm 33 years old.
30, 33.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you started in your let's say mid 20s
Yeah,
with
exactly.
jiu-jitsu. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
which is quite late, but I'm determined to prove that we can start a sport late and still be successful.
And still be successful. Yeah, which is great. What would be like the ideal age to start jiu-jitsu as a, let's say, career, like more professional or semi-professional?
Honestly, I actually don't know. It's so circumstantial. Some people train since, they're kids. Some people start in their early 20s and are super successful. I think it just depends on your background. Like if you have, I don't know, maybe gymnastics or wrestling or judo background, you've done a few years here and there as a teenager and you start in your 20s jiu-jitsu, you can still be successful for sure.
Okay. Okay. And for you, what did work like, yeah, in your own path? Like, what did you find was helpful for you to get into jiu-jitsu?
Just being athletic, like I said, like I've always been into sports and I am quite athletic, so I think that helped me massively. And I just have I'm not someone who studies the techniques; I just feel them. So my instinct is actually pretty good.
Very strong.
Yeah, so that really helps as well. But like jujitsu, like there's so many different types of personalities. There's absolute nerds who haven't ever done like any kind of sport before, who start jujitsu, but because they're so into studying all of the techniques, they actually become brilliant and some of the most amazing athletes. So it just like so many different types of people do jujitsu. It's actually insane and really, really cool.
Is there these techniques? So is there some that you can learn? Like when you say like you are feeling the moves and you do feel them, and is there a technique very highly technique dependent?
Yeah, definitely. It really is. Like there's only so far that you can go with just instinct. You're gonna have to put in the work at some point. So like I'm
Yeah.
struggling with that massively. But yeah, people call it the chess of sport
Ah,
because like it really is like one move leads to another that leads to another that leads to another. And you kind of have to have a full picture of like all of the techniques to kind of know where the fight is going so that you can then apply your own techniques and game.
and like chess, can you anticipate moves?
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And you can trick people into making some moves so that they enter your game and that you dominate the game, basically.
Yeah, okay. Because I can imagine also, yeah, physically you also must be very well prepared. Are there some advantages whether you are like more built, muscle built, whether you're like a very light person, or the other categories in which you can compete?
Yeah, exactly. So it would be the same as any kind of martial art. So you have weight categories, and definitely strength and conditioning is like I feel a necessity
Yeah.
to have like a complete full kind of game. Like you need to lift for sure. Some people don't, and they do very well. But like for an example, I started jiu-jitsu at 57 kilos. And today I walk at 68 kilos and I would fight under 69 or under 65 just because I've made time to actually build muscle and take care of my body as well because like lifting prevents injuries as well. So yeah, definitely important.
And so you reckon that up to what age would you be then able to do jujitsu?
I have so many friends that bring their moms to train, and the moms are range from 40 to like 75. There's a lot of dads as well that come and train and they start in their 50s. Like that's the beauty of that sport.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's insane. You can really start at any age. And we even have people who are missing a few limbs here and there, and they're actually incredible because they've had to develop a game adapted to their own body.
Oh
And
yeah.
it's so unique and you learn from them as well. Like it's just amazing.
Wow. Yeah, that's awesome. Are you just able to join a club and then train and then training to then becoming a Swiss candidate, like an Olympian candidate, or?
So yeah, so the team, like obviously, yes, anywhere you are, you can absolutely just walk into a gym. I would do a bit of research on the gyms, and if you're a female, then try to find a gym that has other women. But yeah, you can absolutely join, and then depending on the belt, I'd say that from purple belt, you can start to kind of engage with the team. If you're quite good at competing, then you'll definitely attract the team's attention. But like for the moment in the team in Newaza, I think we're only three adults. So yeah, it's very small.
So is it more like male dominated sports than female? Like
Definitely more male dominated, but it's just not that popular.
not
And
popular.
yeah, and again, because there's no real financing, then it doesn't become as popular as it should be. And actually, we're three in the team, but two of us are women, and there's only one guy. So at least we've got that going on for us.
So how is today your life balance? So, because you're of course you're working full time and then you're training full time. How does your day pan out on a daily basis?
Yeah, it's it's not easy to be honest. I wake up at about 6:30. I start working at 7. Like luckily enough, I don't have to go to an office. My job is remote, so I can work from home. And then depending on the day, I'll be lifting in the morning. So this morning, for example, at 9, I went lifting, go back to work. At the moment, I have a back injury, so I'm concentrating as well on doing hot yoga. So I'll
Okay.
try to put a bit of hot yoga here and there, and then training either at 12 or in the evening. But yeah, but that's every day.
Okay, okay. And then meantime you work. And was it easy for you to find a job? Is it, yeah,
Not
tell
at
me.
all. Yeah, it really wasn't. And especially remote. Like it was by pure chance. I actually just went into the shop Lululemon in Dublin and I was like, oh my God, like the people are there are so nice. Like I would love to work for that company. And my husband was like, oh, well, let's just look at the careers. And there was a job and I applied and I got it.
Oh
So
really?
yeah, it was amazing.
Amazing. Okay. What did you try before that? What kind of jobs were you trying to get into?
So I was working actually before that. I was working in like a fine food store, which gave me a lot of like customer service experience, which was great for my job now in Lululemon. But yeah, like it would be great if there were more remote jobs for athletes because we know how to work. We can work from home and then we can train as well. Like it would just be amazing, but it's just not easy. It really isn't. Or you have to find a part-time job, which is what I had to do. So you get less money. You still have to
Right.
find financing to compete and everything. Yeah, it's really hard.
Do you need to get your own funding to go and compete? Like, does the club cover some expenses at all?
Not my club. So Swiss Olympic will cover the big tournaments, so we don't have to worry about traveling and
Okay.
hotels.
Okay.
But they won't cover. So there's different federations in Jiu Jitsu. So for the Swiss team, I don't fight in the same federation that I fight for my gym. So
Okay.
these ones we have to finance ourselves, and I do get a bit of help from Geneva, from Le Fond du Sport, but it's unfortunately like not enough. So I'm lucky enough now that I can work remotely full time and I can finance my own competitions, but it's not the case for everyone, and it's really, really hard.
I mean, yeah, I can really tell that you have the passion for it and you go for it, and which is great. And I bet there are many more sports that are in the same situation. You know, they're not well funded, they're not paid, and you need to find,
Absolutely.
a full time job or almost full time job, or maybe through your partner, your spouse, having some help in
Completely.
that.
We're actually missing out on so many talents, I feel, like in Switzerland, because we're not putting the money in sports, and people are just like, well, what should I
Can't
do?
afford it. Yeah.
Exactly. I can't afford to be an athlete, so I'm just going to go to university and drop out, like, and not drop out of university, but drop out on the sport that I'm doing. And eventually, you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's,
No.
yeah, it's such a shame.
It can be frustrating, I'm sure. Yeah. We only see the point of the iceberg, right? Like we see the big tennis players and we see that this is where the money flows,
Exactly.
into football, into basketball. But then there are those niche sports that are very good also, I think, for the mind. And I remember doing it for a year when I was living in the Caribbean, so nothing to do with it. But
Wow.
I loved it. And I was not that great at it because, like you said, like you need to get your technique. And I also, I'm a bit petite. And then it was mixed, so men and women. So I would always lose, of course, against men. And but mentally, it is so good. So it's a life lesson,
Completely.
also on how to handle also your own stress and how to handle difficult
Exactly.
situation. So it would be great to have more support and to be able to do it. Do you think that in the future you could do something, be paid for something that has to do with jiu-jitsu, be it maybe a coach or in schools? Is there some opportunity for you down the road?
I would definitely love to be honest, not for now because I can't concentrate on being an amazing coach and being a good athlete. Like I would need to do one or the other. But I would love to, but also it's kind of sad that like the only way to do that now is by opening our own gyms and like like it's hard enough to live as an athlete. Where are we going to find the funding to open our own gym? And then we have to have members, etc. So it's just really
Oh, it
hard.
is an endeavor, eh? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Is there no clusters of sports that can combine where you have a gym and then you can do several activities and then you can next to that?
Yeah, I think everyone is trying to do that. To be honest, like my dream would be to kind of have like a gym with like where you can do jujitsu, where you can do some yoga, where you can have like a recovery room, a lifting gym, like
Yeah,
just all of this in one spot.
multidisciplinary.
Like it's
Yeah.
it's selfish because that's all of the things that I want for
That you
myself. But yeah,
yeah.
that would be absolutely amazing. But
You said that you studied art, right? Fine
Mhm.
arts.
Yeah,
What would have been a job you would have liked? Had you not been at all passionate about jiu-jitsu and then you wanted to pursue your career in art, what would have been?
yeah, I would have loved to be an artist. Like I had to make a choice between jiu-jitsu and art. And art, I don't feel that there's an age limit. So I decided to prioritize jiu-jitsu for now. But like in the next few years, I'll definitely go back to art because that is just what I love as well. So yeah, it's not finished. I will pick up my career as an artist at some point, but
Okay.
yeah, for now it's jiu-jitsu.
And what would be the art that you would pick?
Oh, I love doing installation art. So it's a mixture of like sculpture and video installations, just all sorts of things, just everything mixed up, really. But yeah,
Nice, nice. Do you think you could do? Would it be possible for you to do this now and jujitsu?
I tried, but I'm so badly organized as a human that it just wasn't possible. And like having to pick, like, what I would love to do is residencies. So you have like residencies that you can do for a few months here and there all over the world and just be in your studio for like 6 months and work on your art. But that's a bit difficult with jiu-jitsu. I need to be in my gym and train in my gym. Like I was trying to combine like residencies maybe in New York and then could train in New York at the same time, but I would be doing both of them half-heartedly, and that would just be a recipe for disaster. So yeah, that will be for in a few years.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. If some of our listeners are curious to know, what, I love jujitsu and but I need to make money on the side. What other jobs do you think are available out there that could be really a good match with the aspiration of being a, full-time jujitsu athlete?
That's actually a very good question because I don't have the answer for myself. Like I think anything where you can make up your own schedule. My friend on the team, she's a PT and she's working for a chain and she's able to kind of make up her own hours so she can work whenever she wants. So I'd say maybe anything in kind of retail, like if you're a graphic designer and you're working for yourself, then that's amazing as well. Yeah, anything remote would be great as
Remote
well.
is good. Yeah, then you have your own times, and as
Exactly.
long as you provide results, right?
Yeah,
Right.
I mean, I think any job is doable if you have an understanding, like a good boss, basically. If you have a good manager, someone that understands your situation and isn't on your back, and you're serious in the work that you do, then that's the best combination.
Today, down the road, of course, you're still halfway or at the beginning, or we don't know. What is that you're most proud of?
That I never quit.
Okay.
Yeah, that I continued showing up, that I'm very insecure and I don't feel that I'm someone who's consistent and who can achieve things, but actually this showed me that I can. Like I got my black belt about a month ago. Um,
Congratulations.
thank you. And I still haven't digested that. Like yeah, it's been a long ride, and it's yeah, just keep showing up. Whatever you're doing, just keep showing up.
Yeah, excellent. And then on the other end, what would be something that worries you today?
Wow. I think my transition from being a competitor to just being a hobbyist, I've competed my whole life. I was doing gymnastics and competed there, boxing, everything. And well, maybe I'll never need to stop competing. I'll just compete in different categories, like for elderly people. But yeah, I think that's going to be a hard transition to just shift my mindset, basically.
Competition to hobby, and why you think you have to do that? Is it because of age, and as you get older, then competition will not be an option for you, or?
Exactly, but I mean, it's actually as I'm talking, like I can just compete in a different category. So you have the adult category which would be the hardest one,
Right.
but then you can compete in masters, which is after a certain age. So I could actually continue to compete, but it would just be that the priority would be different. The priority wouldn't be competing anymore, and it would be like my family life and my job, because at some point I'm going to have to make a bit more money and concentrate on that. So yeah.
Yes, a lot to think about, but it's exciting because you're definitely giving it a good try. You're managing it, and you're succeeding already, which is.
For sure, and to be honest, like the when you lose in a competition and in such an intense context, you understand that like there is a life after losing. Life doesn't stop because you lost a big competition, and managing to get over your failures at the end is not a failure. It's an amazing success. So even though I can be scared sometimes, I'm actually not that scared because I know things will be all right.
Yeah, it's a very good message for everyone, really, that there's a life after losing, and I guess losing is part of life, and it's almost a compulsory part of life,
Completely, completely.
right?
You learn so
Which
much from it.
We cannot always win, and also what is winning?
Yeah,
It could be like a personal win, although you lost. But then
exactly.
maybe it was like the hardest athlete you could have face, and then you lost by a little bit, and then it's like a huge success for you.
Completely. Such a win. Such a win.
It's such a win, yeah. And mentally, what is it that you find most amazing in your sport? Like in terms of mental strength, or yeah, mental difficulty as well.
Yeah, fully the mental strength that you find, because firstly taking the decision to compete is super hard, and then getting there and actually competing is amazing. You have to overcome so many resistances, like the, up to the moment where you step on the mat, you think the whole time, like, what am I doing there? I could just be with my dogs on my couch, chilling, watching Netflix and eating a burger, and I'm here like dieting,
Sweating,
sweating, and like my heart rate and everything. Like it's
suffering.
trying to avoid it and trying to find any excuse to get out of it, and you overcome all of that, and it's just unreal. And just that's why I mean, like, martial arts just generally are such like amazing for teachings, for life teachings and life lessons, because you get over so many things. So like when you have to do a presentation in front of some people, like for work, for example, the stress there is actually nothing compared to competing. Like it just puts everything on a different perspective and makes you way calmer, and yeah, it just gives you so much experience.
Fantastic. And I want to say, let's meet 5 years from now, and then you'll be able to tell me about your great success and your great achievements as a professional Newaza athlete. And I wish you all the best. Thank you so much for being my guest on Job Tales.
Thanks so much for having me.
That was Amanda Schurtz, Brazilian Jiu Jitsu athlete. You will find more episodes of Job Tales on Spotify, Google Podcast and Apple Podcast, as well as any of your favorite players. I'm always looking for new guests, so please send me ideas on jobtalespodcast@gmail.com. Otherwise, see you next week for a new episode of Job Tales.